little sidetrack on you guys and almost forgot about you. I finished up the other side and went ahead and leveled out my tops here, and then I realized that I was in the middle of making a video, so I should turn the camera back on. But anyhow, tell you what I did. I just finished up the other side and went ahead and took this sanding block right here and just did a really light sanding on the top surface of the frets. Nothing too hateful to make them completely flat, but I was just trying to level out any high spots on it. Again, it's something where you don't want to press down, you know, put a lot of tension on. Just kind of let it sit on there, let gravity do all the work, and just guide it kind of back and forth, and be sure you work the whole entire fretboard and don't stay concentrated in just one area. So after that, I usually take, oh, where did I set it? I just had a piece out. Usually take a piece of P600 grit sandpaper. I just kind of put my finger, kind of wrapping around my finger like that. So as it's running in there, my finger's kind of just acting like a little buffer, sort of, and just rounding off any potential flat spots that occurred when I leveled out the top. So this method works for me. I've been kind of pondering on getting one of those crowning tools, but I've had pretty much good results doing it this way. And you know, I mean, I can understand if I was doing you know, some major, you know, fret work or fret repair or something like that. I don't know. I mean, if this works the same, then, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's another reason why I like to coat the get the neck coated first before I set the frets, is because it does give a good base to the fretboard, so that when I am doing sanding like this, you probably can't see it, but there's the sandpaper is kind of got like a charcoal gray type material to it, and it'll set down in those cracks and it'll stain the wood. Well, not really stain it, but it'll get it dirty, so it's very difficult to clean if the wood hasn't been sealed up with something. So I use a polyurethane, just one coat before I set the frets in. That way it doesn't get any soot or anything like that, any sanding debris inside of it to, you know, make the wood grain look all nasty and whatnot. So just a little bit of free advice there. Before I did the sanding block, I did go through and re-tap the frets to make sure that none of them came unseated before I started leveling out, because if you had one kind of pop out a little bit, maybe a corner or something, and you want to go sand, and then notice that it needs to be reset when you set it down, then it's going to be way off because you've sanded it down. So I usually reset the frets after I file, then I'll reset again here after I kind of polish up the frets here. But this is just a tack cloth. It's kind of dirty. I need a new one. But it's still got some sticky stuff left to it to get any type of leftover debris and whatnot. Now I'm just going to take a piece of steel wool. You want to get kind of like a fine steel wool, and again, not with a lot of pressure and whatnot, because if one of these little metal hairs, these steel hairs, kind of wrap around or get hung up on one of the frets, you could pull the fret out. I haven't done it yet, but I've had some close calls. So this just kind of gives a final buff to it, make it a little bit smooth, and it also helps again to remove some of that charcoal sandpaper debris that might have been left over. Again, after this point as well, I'm going to give the frets a final tap, make sure they're still seated and haven't came out of position or anything like that. Again, too, you know, this is definitely something with repetition. You know, the more times you do it, the faster you're going to get it. I can't count how many of these necks I've built. Somewhere in the ballpark of, I'll shoot, probably about 250, maybe 300 necks. So, you know, but I've only been doing this now for a short while now. Just kind of got the, we're actually doing it and selling them off. But, you know, before I made that decision, I had plenty underneath my belt by that point before I decided that I wanted to start making some available for other people to use. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and reposition just like I did when I was setting the frets. To kind of give it a final little tap. Give it a little once over too, checking the, making sure there's no gaps in between the bottom of the fret and the actual wood surface. And that's why it always kind of helps to use this old desk lamp here, because it also has a magnifying glass in it that helps out when I'm doing some soldering on the piezios and whatnot. But we'll get to that later on. But magnification helps, and it's got a good lighting source, so it casts any shadows if I have any high spots that aren't set in place. Using the bench vise a lot, because you make so many adjustments and repositioning the neck and doing so much work on it. And you know, throughout the whole build, that when I first started out, I was using clamps and was actually working down in the basement. Had this bench downstairs and had this vise, but it didn't have the little rubber things out in it. So I was using just regular you know, wood clamps like this one right here that I've had forever. but got tons of those up here and downstairs. But so then I decided to start using the vise, and it's definitely, I probably turned this vise probably 100,000 times, just tightening up necks and getting them in position and setting frets and everything else, and yeah, so it's definitely good to have around, and yeah, so pretty much that's it for setting the frets in place. All that's left to do now from this point is to give it a final. I want to go ahead and give one coat of polyurethane up top here, and give a coat here on the sides where I've been filing and sanding. And then pretty much when that dries, I typically clamp it about right in here, because that's about going to be where it's going to be inside the cigar box, and it's got one coat one coat on it, which is enough to seal the wood in place. But typically, I'll just kind of lock it in like that and do a varnish or a polyurethane coat, final coat on the outside here and the outside there, and from that point, it's good to go and ready to send out. So. Just in case you were wondering, yeah, there's not a fret there because that's your nut position. I basically just score a line in there with the fret saw. I don't know if you can see that or not, but pretty much we'll get into later on how to. Again, I didn't want to make it in pencil because it could rub away or fade out or I don't know. I just feel that you're going to have to make a cut there regardless if you're going to set an actual piece of like a bone nut in there or brass rod or something. It's going to have to be notched out anyhow. So, but we'll get into the nut placement later on in the build, and yeah, so this neck's pretty close to being done, and that covers fretting.